No one in the Galactic Education Authority expected trouble from a human child. The academy hallway was clean, bright, and silent, made of smooth metal and glowing lines of soft blue light. Students from dozens of species moved calmly between classes. Tall, insected scholars clicked softly as they walked. Floating jelly-like beings drifted near the ceiling. Everything was controlled, ordered, and peaceful. Until the humans screamed. The sound cut through the hall like broken glass. Inside classroom 7A, the lesson stopped at once. The instructor, a tall alien with 4 eyes and silver skin, froze mid-sentence. Every student turned toward the door. 2 armored security officers stood there. They were large, heavy, and green-skinned, their armor thick and black, designed for riot control. Their glowing visors scanned the room. Without speaking, they stepped inside. Their target was clear. A human boy sat near the back. His name was Daniel Reed. He was 13 years old, small compared to many alien students, thin, with messy brown hair and nervous eyes. He wore the standard academy uniform, slightly too big for him. Daniel slowly stood up. Is there a problem?" he asked. His voice shook, but he stayed polite. The instructor raised one hand. "This is a learning space. Explain your purpose." The security officers ignored the instructor. One of them grabbed Daniel's arm, hard. Daniel gasped. His chair fell backward with a loud crash. He tried to pull away, but the alien's grip was too strong. "Hey, stop!" Daniel shouted. "I didn't do anything." Students stared in shock. Some leaned back in fear. Others whispered. The instructor moved forward. "You are violating protocol." The second officer pushed the instructor aside like nothing. "Human student Daniel Reed," the first officer said in a deep, mechanical voice. "You are ordered to come with us." "Why?" Daniel cried. No answer came. They dragged him toward the door. Daniel panicked. He kicked. He struggled. His books fell to the floor. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. Fear filled his chest, but something else burned beneath it. Anger. As they pulled him into the hallway, Daniel screamed one word. "No!" The sound echoed down the corridor. And far behind them, something heard it. Something small. Something angry. Something that did not understand fear the way the galaxy did. Inside a maintenance corridor below the academy, a honey badger lifted its head. The creature had escaped its containment weeks ago. The academy had labeled it harmless wildlife and ignored it after failing to capture it twice. It lived in vents, ate whatever it wanted, and learned the paths of the building better than any map. It had bonded with Daniel, not like humans bonded with pets. This bond was different. Daniel had shared food. He had spoken softly to it. He had treated it with respect. That was enough. The honey badger's black eyes narrowed. It smelled fear. And rage. The security officers dragged Daniel down the hallway. Other students stepped aside quickly. No one wanted trouble. Humans were strange, weak, emotional. That was the common belief. One officer spoke through a private channel. "Why are we removing him?" "Orders from above," came the reply. "Human influence is destabilizing mixed species classes. Too many emotional reactions." The officer glanced at Daniel. "This one does not look dangerous." Daniel heard that. He clenched his fists. They turned a corner toward the disciplinary wing. Heavy doors waited ahead. Daniel's breathing grew fast. His mind raced. He thought of Earth, of his parents far away, of being alone. And then he felt it, a sound, a low growl. It echoed softly through the vents. The officers stopped. "What was that?" one asked. "Probably machinery," the other replied. The growl came again, closer. Daniel's eyes widened. He knew that sound. The lights flickered once, then again. A vent cover at the end of the hall bent outward. Metal screamed. The honey badger burst out. It hit the floor running, small, fast, furious. Its teeth were bared. Its fur stood on end. Its claws scraped sparks from the metal floor. It moved like pure rage given shape. "What is that thing?" one officer shouted. The honey badger did not slow down. It leaped, straight at the officer holding Daniel. Its teeth sank into armored plating. Its claws found weak points. The officer screamed as pain signals exploded through his nervous system. Daniel's arm was released. He fell backward, coughing, staring in disbelief. The second officer raised a shock weapon. The honey badger turned and charged. The weapon fired. The honey badger did not stop. It slammed into the officer's leg, ripping into joints not designed for animal attacks. The officer fell, crashing hard. Alarms began to wail. Red lights flooded the hallway. Students screamed and ran. Daniel scrambled to his feet. "Stop!" he shouted. "Don't hurt them." The honey badger ignored him. It was protecting. That was all that mattered. More boots thundered in the distance. Security reinforcements, heavy units. This time they came prepared, or so they thought. The honey badger stood between Daniel and the approaching force. Blood stained its fur. Its chest rose and fell fast, but its eyes burned brighter than ever. Daniel swallowed. Fear twisted inside him, but pride rose too. They had taken him. They had ignored what stood beside him. And now the Academy was learning a lesson it would never forget. The galaxy believed humans were weak. They were wrong. And they were about to learn why humans never walk alone. The alarm spread through the Academy like a living thing. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Doors sealed automatically. Emergency announcements echoed in many languages, warning students to stay inside classrooms. Teachers rushed to protect their classes, confused and afraid. In the main corridor, Daniel stood frozen. In front of him, the honey badger snarled at the approaching security force. More armored aliens poured into the hallway, their weapons raised, their movements tense. They had never trained for this. The creature was too small to be a serious threat. That was what their data said. That data was wrong. "Do not advance," one officer ordered. "Unknown hostile animal present." The honey badger slammed its claws into the floor and charged again. The first line of officers fired shock rounds. Blue energy struck the honey badger's body. It screamed, but it did not fall. It rolled, sprang back to its feet, and ran straight up the wall, using claws and fury to climb impossible angles. It launched itself onto an officer's helmet, biting down hard. The officer collapsed, screaming. Daniel backed away slowly, his heart pounding. He wanted to help, but he was a child in a hallway full of armed aliens. Fear locked his legs. "Human student," an officer shouted at him. "Get on the ground." Daniel looked at the officer, then at the honey badger. He shook his head. "No," he said quietly. The officer stepped forward. The honey badger noticed. It moved faster than thought. It slammed into the officer's leg, tearing through armor seals. The officer fell with a crash that shook the floor. More officers fired. The honey badger vanished into smoke, sparks, and flashing lights. Daniel lost sight of it. "Badger," he cried. The hallway shook as heavy units arrived. These were taller, wider, with reinforced armor and mounted weapons. Their commander raised one hand. "Contain the human," he ordered. "Neutralize the animal." Two officers grabbed Daniel again. This time he did not fight. He was watching the vents. The honey badger burst out behind the heavy unit commander. It attacked without sound. Its teeth found exposed cables. Its claws ripped control systems apart. Sparks exploded. The commander roared as his suit locked up, frozen mid-step. The honey badger leaped away as the commander crashed to the floor. That was when the Academy made its second mistake. They called military command, not to ask questions, to issue warnings. "This is Academy Central," the director said, her voice tight. "We have a hostile human-associated creature causing multiple injuries." There was a pause. "A human-associated creature," the military voice replied. "Yes, a small mammal, aggressive, unstoppable." Another pause. "Describe it." "Black and white, thick fur, short legs, teeth." Silence. Then the military officer spoke slowly. "You have a honey badger." "Yes, you ignored containment warnings. We classified it as low threat." The silence that followed felt heavy. "You need to evacuate," the officer said. Immediately, the director frowned. "It's just an animal." "No," the military replied. "It is not." Back in the hallway, the honey badger disappeared into the vents again. The officers hesitated. Weapons tracked empty air. Sweat formed beneath armored helmets. "Where did it go?" one whispered. The answer came from above. The ceiling collapsed. The honey badger dropped straight down onto an officer's back, claws digging deep. The officer screamed as the creature ripped through joints and wiring. Panic spread. Orders were shouted. Formation broke. Daniel watched in shock and fear. This was his fault. He had shared food. He had let the honey badger follow him. He had never thought it would come to this. "Stop!" Daniel shouted again. "Please!" The honey badger paused just for a second. Its head turned toward Daniel. Their eyes met. Then a stun blast hit the honey badger's side. It flew across the hallway and slammed into the wall. Daniel screamed. "No!" The honey badger slid down the metal surface, unmoving. For a moment, everything went quiet. Smoke filled the air. The officers raised their weapons again. Daniel ran. He ran to the honey badger's side and dropped to his knees. His hands shook as he touched its fur. It was breathing. Barely. "Please," Daniel whispered. "Please wake up." The honey badger's eyes opened slowly. They focused on Daniel. Then it growled, weak but alive. That was enough. The honey badger lunged again. It did not go for the officers this time. It went for the control panel. Its claws ripped into the wall. Sparks burst. Systems failed. The hallway doors slammed shut. Emergency locks engaged. The Academy lost control. Across the station, systems flickered and died. Gravity shifted slightly. Lights dimmed. The military officer watching the feed cursed quietly. They triggered full defense chaos, he said. The Academy is compromised. What about the human? Someone asked. The officer leaned forward. Protect him, he said, at all costs. Back in the hallway, the honey badger stood over Daniel, bleeding but unbroken. Officers backed away slowly now. Fear replaced confidence. This is insane, one whispered. It's just a human child. A senior officer answered, voice shaking. No, it's not. Daniel stood, hands clenched. He looked small, but he did not look weak. You should have asked, Daniel said softly. You should have listened. The honey badger growled again, louder this time. Reinforcements would come, bigger weapons, hard choices. But it was too late for simple solutions. The Academy had touched something it did not understand. And the galaxy was starting to notice. The Academy was no longer quiet. Emergency lights flashed across every level. Hallways that once felt safe now echoed with alarms and distant explosions. Security teams moved carefully, no longer confident, no longer calm. In a sealed corridor, Daniel and the honey badger stood together. The creature's breathing was heavy. Blood marked its fur, but its eyes were sharp. It stayed close to Daniel, blocking him from every direction. Anyone who came too close felt the warning in its growl. Daniel swallowed and looked around. Please don't come closer, he said to the officers watching from behind a sealed door. It won't end well. The officers did not answer. They were afraid. For the first time in Academy history, fear controlled the guards. In the command center, the director watched the live feeds. Her 4 eyes moved quickly between screens showing injured officers, damaged systems, and one small human child standing behind a wounded animal. This cannot be allowed to continue, she said. Where is the military response? A technician hesitated. They are waiting. Waiting for what? For instructions from Earth. The director stiffened. Earth does not have authority here. The technician shook his head slowly. They do now. Across the stars, human military and diplomatic channels were already active. Video footage from the Academy had leaked. It spread faster than any official statement could stop it. A human child being dragged from class. A wild animal protecting him. Alien soldiers falling. The reaction was immediate. In a secure human command room, officers stared at the screen in silence. That's a honey badger, one said. Yes, another replied, and they heard it. A general folded his hands. They took a human child without consent, he said. They ignored warning signs, they escalated force. He looked around the room. We will respond. Back at the Academy, the officers outside the sealed corridor received new orders. Withdraw, their commander said quietly. Do not engage. The honey badger relaxed slightly but did not move away. Daniel felt it too. The pressure was changing. Something bigger was coming. A soft voice came from a wall speaker. Daniel, read, it said. This is Director Calith. Please remain calm. We wish to talk. Daniel frowned. You already talked, he replied. You used force. Silence followed. We made an error, the director said carefully. You were not meant to be harmed. Daniel laughed bitterly. You dragged me away, he said. You didn't ask. You didn't explain. The honey badger growled low. The director swallowed. We are prepared to release you, she said. You and the animal. Daniel paused. You hurt him, he said. The director closed her eyes. Yes. Daniel looked down at the honey badger. Its body leaned slightly against his leg, tired but steady. No, Daniel said. Not until someone explains why this happened. The director stared at the screen. This was not how humans were supposed to act. They were emotional, weak. Easy to scare. This child was none of those things. The Academy shook suddenly. Lights flickered. What was that? The director demanded. A technician answered, voice shaking. Unknown vessels entering orbit. How many? Human. Silence filled the room. Outside the Academy, massive ships slid into position. Human designs were simple, powerful, and unmistakable. They did not hide. They did not threaten. They waited. A human ambassador appeared on the director's screen. Director Calith, the ambassador said calmly, you have our student. The director straightened. This is an internal Academy matter. The ambassador's eyes hardened. You removed a human child by force, he said. You injured his companion. You violated agreements. He is safe, the director said quickly. For now, the ambassador replied, release him. The director hesitated. Behind her, alarms sounded again. Now, the ambassador said. The director nodded. Open the corridor, she ordered. Metal doors slid apart slowly. The officers stepped back. Daniel walked forward carefully, the honey badger limping beside him. No one stopped them. As Daniel passed the officers, they avoided his eyes. They had learned something today. At the exit hangar, human medical teams waited. Soldiers stood still, watching everything. A medic knelt beside the honey badger immediately. "It's okay," the medic said softly. "You did good." The honey badger snarled weakly but allowed the touch. Daniel felt tears burn his eyes. Human officers guided Daniel onto the transport ship. He looked back once. The academy looked smaller now, weaker. On the bridge of the human ship, the general watched the academy through the viewport. "They underestimated us," he said quietly. A diplomat nodded. "They always do. But now," the general continued, "the galaxy has seen it." Back inside the academy, Director Calith sank into her chair. "What have we done?" she whispered. A senior advisor answered softly. "We have reminded humans who they are." And that frightened her more than the honey badger ever could. Because this was not about an animal. This was about boundaries, and humans defended theirs without hesitation. The galaxy did not sleep that cycle. News of the Academy incident spread across star systems faster than official reports could control. Videos of armored aliens dragging a human child from class appeared on public networks. Clips of the honey badger attacking security forces were replayed again and again. Comment sections exploded with fear, anger, and confusion. Many species laughed at first. A small animal defeating trained guards seemed impossible. Then medical reports leaked. Armor torn apart, nerve damage, officers unable to return to duty. The laughter stopped. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives gathered in emergency session. The room was vast, filled with floating platforms and glowing symbols of power. Voices overlapped as fear replaced pride. "This is a misunderstanding," one delegate said. "Humans are known for exaggeration." A reptilian ambassador slammed his tail against the floor. "That creature ignored stun weapons," he snapped. "What else have we ignored?" A soft voice cut through the noise. "The problem is not the animal." All eyes turned. A senior historian floated forward. "The problem is human bonding," she said. "When humans care, they do not calculate risk the way we do." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "They form emotional alliances," she continued, "with machines, with planets, with animals. And with children," someone added quietly. Back aboard the human transport ship, Daniel sat in a small medical room. His hands rested on the edge of the bed as he watched medics work on the honey badger. Tubes and scanners surrounded the animal, but it was calm. It trusted them. A doctor turned to Daniel. "He'll live," she said. "He's tougher than he looks." Daniel nodded, relief washing over him. "Thank you," he whispered. A human officer stood near the door. "You did nothing wrong," the officer said gently. "They should never have touched you." Daniel looked down. "I just wanted to learn," he said. "I wanted to make friends." The officer sighed. "You still can," he said, "but now the galaxy knows something important." Daniel frowned. "What?" "That humans are not alone," the officer replied. Elsewhere, military analysts across dozens of systems reviewed human behavior. Old files were reopened. Forgotten warnings resurfaced. Humans did not escalate quickly, but when they did, they escalated completely. On a distant trade station, alien merchants argued loudly. "They bring predators into schools," one shouted. "They bring loyalty," another replied. "Which is worse?" On Earth, broadcasts showed calm statements from leaders, no threats. No anger, just facts. A human child was removed without consent. A companion animal was harmed. Such actions are unacceptable. The message was clear: do not cross this line. Back at the academy, repairs continued slowly. Burn marks still stained the walls. Officers avoided the hallway where it happened. Some refused to patrol near vents at all. Director Calith stood alone in her office, staring at a paused video of Daniel and the honey badger walking away together. "They were children," she whispered. An aide stood behind her. "Yes," the aide replied, "and that is why this matters." The Galactic Council issued a temporary ruling. Human students were to be protected under new emergency laws. Any removal required human oversight. Any companion species linked to humans would be treated as potential high-risk entities. The term spread quickly. Human-linked threat. The irony was not lost on anyone. On the human ship, the honey badger woke fully. It lifted its head and sniffed the air. Daniel rushed to its side. "Hey," he said softly, "you scared everyone." The honey badger huffed. It did not care. A diplomat entered the room. "Daniel," she said, "you're going home for now." Daniel's eyes widened. Home? Yes, she smiled. Earth? Daniel hesitated. What about school? The diplomat paused. That will change, she said, for everyone. As the ship prepared for jump, messages arrived from across the galaxy. Some were angry, some were afraid, a few were curious. One message stood out. It was short. Humans teach us. The general read it twice. They want to understand, he said. A scientist beside him nodded. They should have asked sooner. Back on Earth, analysts studied the honey badger's medical scans, strength levels, pain resistance, aggression patterns. This animal represents human philosophy, one researcher said. Small, dismissed, unwilling to surrender. The general smiled slightly. That's why we keep them around. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Behind it, the Academy drifted in silence. The galaxy had learned a lesson. But it was only the beginning, because humans were not angry yet. They were patient. And patience in humans was often more dangerous than rage. The galaxy tried to adjust. New laws were written. New rules were announced. Councils spoke of peace and understanding, but fear moved faster than words. Wherever humans went, eyes followed. Wherever humans settled, borders shifted. And wherever humans bonded, others stepped back. On Earth, Daniel sat in a quiet room overlooking the ocean. The honey badger rested beside him, healed but restless. It paced often, sniffing the air as if the stars themselves felt wrong. Daniel had not returned to normal school. There was no normal anymore. Scientists, diplomats, and soldiers passed through the house every day. They asked questions. They offered protection. They spoke softly like he might break. Daniel listened, but he did not feel broken. He felt watched. Far away in the Galactic Council, arguments turned sharp. Some species demanded limits on humans. Others demanded distance. A few demanded action. They bring chaos, a delegate hissed. Everywhere they go, they bring consequences, another replied, to bad decisions. One council member remained silent until now. If we do nothing, the voice said slowly, humans will reshape the balance. The chamber fell quiet. They already have, someone whispered. In secret, a small coalition formed, species that feared humans more than they feared war. They did not call themselves enemies. They called themselves realists. Their plan was simple. Remove the symbol, the honey badger. Back on Earth, Daniel woke suddenly one night. The honey badger was standing at the window, fur raised, teeth bared. It growled low, deep, and angry. Daniel's heart raced. "What is it?" he whispered. The answer came as the sky split open. A silent ship appeared above the ocean, its hull bent light around it, hiding most of its shape. No alarms sounded. No warnings came. It was not a military ship. It was something else. Inside the ship, figures watched Earth with cold focus. "There," one said, "the child. And the animal," another replied. "Remove it." They did not want war. They wanted control. The ship descended. Human defenses reacted instantly. Satellites shifted. Warnings flashed across command screens, but the ship moved too smoothly, too cleanly. It landed. Soldiers poured into the area. Human forces surrounded the house within seconds. A voice echoed from the alien ship. "We are here for the animal," it said. "Give it to us and no one is harmed." Daniel stood in the doorway, shaking. "No," he said. The honey badger stepped forward. Human commanders raised weapons. "Stand down," the alien voice warned. "This is your final chance." The general arrived on site, his face hard. "You crossed our line," he said. The alien voice replied calmly, "We are preventing future disasters." The honey badger growled louder. Daniel felt something change inside him. The galaxy waited. After the failed attack on Earth, no one moved openly. Fleets stayed in place. Borders locked down. Councils argued without progress. Fear now lived on both sides. Humans did not rush to respond. They watched. On Earth, the honey badger survived. Its body was weak, but its spirit remained unbroken. It stayed close to Daniel, resting, healing, always alert. Daniel did not return to school. Instead, the world came to him. Leaders, scholars, and observers from many species arrived on Earth under strict rules. They walked carefully, spoke softly, and watched everything. They saw humans at work, at rest, with families, with animals. They saw bonds. One alien scholar asked a human researcher, "Why do you allow such dangerous creatures near your children?" The human answered simply, "Because danger does not define loyalty." That answer spread. The Galactic Council finally agreed to meet on neutral ground, not in space, not on a station, on Earth. This alone sent a powerful message. The council chamber was built near the ocean. Glass walls showed waves rolling endlessly, calm and strong. Human security was present but not aggressive. No weapons were displayed. Daniel sat quietly at the back of the room. The honey badger lay at his feet, alive, alert, unafraid. The council members entered slowly. Some avoided looking at the animal, others studied it with fear and curiosity. Director Calith was among them. She looked smaller now. When the meeting began, humans spoke first. "We are not here to threaten," the human ambassador said. "We are here to explain." She gestured toward Daniel. "This child was taken without consent," she continued. "His companion was harmed. The response you saw was not a strategy, it was instinct." A council member shifted nervously. "That instinct nearly caused war." The ambassador nodded. "Yes," she said, "and that is why you must understand it." She paused. "When humans care, we do not retreat. We protect, we endure, and if pushed, we respond fully." Silence filled the chamber. Director Calith stood. "I believed humans were unpredictable," she said. "Now I see the truth. You are consistent." "We were careless." She bowed her head. "For that, I apologize." The honey badger lifted its head. A low growl filled the room. Daniel placed a hand on its fur. "It's okay," he whispered. The growl faded. That moment changed everything. The council voted. New laws were passed. Human students were granted full protective status. Companion species bonded to humans were classified as extensions of human rights. Forced removal was banned. Any violation would trigger immediate consequences, not threats, certainty. The galaxy accepted it, not because they feared humans, but because they understood them. After the meeting, Director Calith approached Daniel slowly. "I am sorry," she said. "I was wrong." Daniel looked at her. "Please don't do it again," he said. She nodded. "I won't." Months passed. The academy reopened under new leadership. Human students returned, this time respected. Other species watched carefully, learning instead of judging. Daniel chose not to go back. He stayed on Earth. He studied at home. He learned science, history, and the stars. He spoke to alien students through secure channels. He taught them something no book ever had. Humans are not dangerous, but what they protect is. The honey badger healed fully. It grew older, calmer, but never soft. It stayed by Daniel's side, a quiet guardian. Across the galaxy, the phrase spread, "Do not touch what humans love." It was not a threat, it was advice. Years later, Daniel stood on a hill overlooking the ocean. The honey badger rested beside him, gray now around the face. Ships passed overhead, human and alien together. Peace, real peace had come, not from fear, but from understanding. Daniel smiled. The galaxy had ignored a small animal. They would never make that mistake again. And they would never forget the lesson humans taught them. Humanity does not stand alone. Humanity stands together, with everything it chooses to protect.